Hello, beautiful angels. Welcome to the Heart Space Atelier podcast. My name is Henry, and I'm so grateful that you're here today. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you're new here, hello. Heart Space Atelier is a space where we dive deep and rediscover our inner, deeper wells of love, magic, and just really bringing back the creativity, the alchemy, the magic, the hope back into our lives, okay? So, I need to give you guys a few disclaimers before I even begin to talk about anything else. First of all, yes, my hair. I don't know if it's gonna appear yellow because that's what it is right now. I'm in the process of getting it back to white blonde, so don't mind me. But I still think it's cute. I still think it's giving angel. Yeah, period. Secondly, my neighbors are up to some mischief up there. There's been construction, so if you hear anything in the background, I'm really not sure what the microphone is picking up, but if it's, if you can hear, please don't mind it. I just think there's something magical in mundane moments. So we are going to be inviting the tiny sounds that are coming from upstairs as part of our vibe, okay? Anyway, what am I drinking, you may ask? I am drinking water in my heart-shaped cup. Isn't this beautiful? I think this cup really kind of represents the energy of my podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about something that I have been working my ass off for a while. I'm so excited to say that my brand has officially launched last Sunday on February 22nd, 2022. My jewelry brand, Etral's Charms, and I'm also wearing my own creation here, which I'm gonna get into later. But I have been planning to launch my own brand for a while now, and I would say for the past 2 months, I've really decided to dive deep into actually making it happen and, creating the products and designing the necklaces and designing the website and the spiritual lessons I've learned, the practical lessons I've learned, and all the lessons I've learned in between. And I just want to pack it into one juicy episode. So that's what we're doing today. We're talking about everything I've learned. Also, a lot of things I've learned in general, as I'm somebody that's been self-employed for the past 5 years. And I just want to talk about it in case you're also, following your artistic path, the golden path of art, of your own inner artist, and letting that inner artist actually come out. And it's a journey. And it is, if you devote yourself to being an artist and to following your art path, it's a lifelong journey. And I noticed that, I would say, when I was 16, I already kind of had a hunch that this would be my lifelong path. And now, 8 years later, I'm 24 now, I just realized, being an artist, having different artistic expressions, and actually channeling that into a business, channeling that into a brand, channeling that into physical creations is also part of my journey. And it's just so exciting. So, Etral's Charms. First of all, what is the name? What does it mean? As some of you may know, I may have mentioned this before, I am a diehard Animal Crossing fan. I love Animal Crossing. I've been playing it since I was literally 6 years old. It's been a while. I'm devoted to that game like there's no tomorrow. And back in 2016, there was this update for Animal Crossing New Leaf. They introduced a new character, and her name was Etral. And I'm gonna insert a picture here of this absolute queen. And I was so enchanted by her because, like, she's a sheep. She has this puffy pastel aesthetic. Étoile means star in French. And she quickly became my ultimate favorite Animal Crossing character. So as I was creating the brand, I knew that I wanted the name to be connected with, you know, constellations, stars. I originally wanted to name it something with North Star or something like that. But then it became so clear to me, like, it needs to be Étoile. Étoile's Charms. That's going to be the name. Scrap all the names I had before. Étoile is my queen. It's really the essence, what I wanted to kind of have in my brand, in my creations anyway. So let me just go for it. So if you're wondering where the name came from, that's the story. And also, you know, ever since I was a child, I've been so fascinated by the moon, the stars, the constellations, and the starry night sky. And I feel like this just really captures it so beautifully. And also kind of putting this inner child magic into the name, into the brand's essence of like, yeah, I love Animal Crossing. I've played it my whole life. And, you know, just a little nudge of that being in my brand's energy also feels really magical. Now, what has actually inspired me to create this jewelry brand? Ever since I was a child, I've been obsessed with crystals. I love crystals so much. Hi. And I just always loved sparkly things. I've always loved designing. I love brand designing. I love website design. I love just everything that has to do with like designing. And for a while, and this is still not off the table, you know, fashion designing and stuff like that has always kind of like been one of my dreams. And I'm saying one of my dreams because this means so much to me. Creating these necklaces, creating this brand means so much to me, but I also know that it's just one of many things that I'm meant to do, you know? And best believe I'm pouring my heart and soul into it nonetheless. But I also know that this is one of at least 5 or 6 things that I'm devoting myself for. And I've always loved sparkly things. I love crystal necklaces. I have been wearing them for the past 10 years, I would say. Especially 7 years ago, actually, 2019, I started wearing them like every day intentionally. And I just know how much difference it made to put something on your sacred temple that is your body with intention. It changes everything. And also, and this may be counterproductive for me to say that as now running this crystal jewelry brand, but I truly believe that you do not need crystals to change your life, to wear something with intention. You do not need crystal jewelry. You do not need any specific stone for that. You can just put your hoodie on and say, as I'm putting this hoodie on, I attract so much magic and abundance and call it a day. However, I'm extra. I love sparkly shit. And I love crystals. And I just wanted to combine these two and be like, yeah, actually, I am extra and I want to wear something sparkly and beautiful and make my own crystals, because what I've also realized, and no shade to any jewelry brand whatsoever, there's so many beautiful ones, but when it comes to crystals, I love this very specific style, kind of like maximalistic, but not to a point where it's too much, but to a point where it's like everything that's on here is kind of like crystal, nature, magic vibes, you know? So this first drop I created for my brand is heavily inspired by crystals and connecting with crystals. However, I also know that I want to kind of go more into I also want to get more into crafting with different beads, like glass beads and like acrylic beads, because I also think that's so much fun. And as I said, crystals are just one of the many magical forms we can use to manifest. One of the first things I did, the first step I actually took in order to start this brand, is defining the aesthetic, defining the vibes, because I had this very unique idea of what the aesthetic of my brand should be. And I actually went on Pinterest and I created this vision board, or action board, I guess you could say, because I don't like to call it vision board anymore, because action board is like, yeah, whatever we're putting in there, we're actually taking action on. So it's in movement. Vision board or dream board is kind of like meh, because you are naming it something that stays in your head. But it should be something that should be put into action, you know? Just my opinion, whatever resonates with you. So I created an action board, I created a brand board, and I just put images in there that resembled my brand's aesthetic. And my brand's aesthetic is kind of like this, you know, medieval, knight and princess, natural, dark green. Like, picture this, you're a princess or prince and you wake up at 4 a.m. You just wake up and you're like, okay, I'm gonna put my clothes on and I'm gonna go outside and take a walk and I'm gonna leave the castle and I'm gonna run around and frolic in the meadows, and the sun is slowly rising, but it's still very dark outside, and it's a beautiful summer morning, and the air is so crisp and fresh, and you're putting this magical necklace on, and there's just so much earth tones, there's so much darker green tones. I mean, I'm gonna put a picture of the fairy tale necklace here that I made. This is kind of like the essence of my brand. Very, like, I would almost say like royal, but I think that would be a bit too much to explain the vibe here. So I'm just gonna stick with like princess energy and dark green and castle vibes and a knight vibes and shit like that. I hope you get the point, you know? And also, I love ponds, I love little lakes, I love water lilies, I love just that color scheme and that energy I want to put into my brand. So, you know, I created the Siren Spell Choker, which is also kind of like, you know, I was like, I want to create a necklace that channels this lake, fairy nymph, fairy water kind of energy. I also created this necklace called the Chain of Love, which kind of like is, to me, a knight expressing his love to his princess, or a knight expressing his love to his prince, if you know what I mean. And this energy of like, I saw this picture of this knight kneeling down in front of the princess and kind of like offering his love to her, which I found so beautiful, and I think so many people are obsessed with that energy, and I just wanted to put that into a necklace. And the name is obviously inspired by the Charlie XCX song Chains of Love. Anyway, so I'm kind of bad with explaining the art and the aesthetic and the vibes I want to embody, but I hope this somehow made sense. So we're talking this, you know, medieval, this knight, prince, princess, castle kind of vibe, and that vibe meeting the stars, the constellations, the, you know, North Star, the starry night sky, the moon phases, like that vibe. Okay, so to put it very, very, very simply, it's kind of like medieval meets constellation. Okay, guys, I needed to go to the kitchen and make myself a matcha, but now I'm back. I just feel very tired today. I feel very exhausted, very grateful, very emotional. I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's because spring is in the air outside. I actually went for a beautiful, nice walk earlier, and I sat down in the sun with some coffee, and I smelled spring in the air, and that made me so emotional because last spring I was somewhere completely different in my life. I was still working a very mentally heavy and negatively impactful job. I was working through a lot of inner demons, and it just like so much has happened, and I have decided to like evolve so much and take these huge steps, and I'm just very proud of myself, you know? Yeah, I just needed to say that. Anyway, and this is another thing that I think is so important to talk about, because when you create something, when you start a business, when you release your music, when you sell your paintings, when you start acting, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like an ode to your inner child, especially if it's something that really fascinates you and that deeply inspires you. It will heal your inner child in ways that you wouldn't have expected before, because your inner child is going to sit there and be like, oh my god, you're making something so magical, and oh my gosh, you're making money with it? Are you joking? This is so cool. So this will shift the entire relationship that you have with your inner child. And also what will shift that relationship is your work ethics. You need to find a balance. You need to be able to cozy up and to enjoy and to really deepen this time with yourself and this pampering with yourself, because sometimes days will come, challenges will come that will require a lot of your presence, require a lot of your energy, and require a lot of your time. So you need to find the balance. It is very important to not overwork yourself. You can work a lot, but it is so important to not overwork yourself. And this is something that I have learned so much these past few weeks upon launching the brand, is because there was this 1 week, it was 1 week before I launched it. I was working so hard, and so much to a point where I started breaking out. I started stressing so much about little things, and it was just like constant. And even when I was in bed at night, I was about to fall asleep, but I was still on my laptop like figuring shit out, and I was like, it's nice, the hustle is nice, it has the certain touch to it that's pretty cool because you're working on your dreams. Hello, that's fucking amazing. But then also, it is so important to rest. It is so important to stick to your soul care routines. My soul care routines are breathwork, meditation, journaling in the morning. Every morning, okay? It's mostly 2 of these, whatever I need most. Sometimes it's all 3, but every single morning it's at least 2. I stick to that like there's no tomorrow. I stick to that like my life depends on it. And these routines really help me calm down and cultivate this inner peace, especially when challenges arise. I learned that it is safe for me to deepen my self-care routines even when I am hustling so hard, even when I'm working so hard on achieving my dreams. It's because We need the balance. And the hustle culture is, in some aspects, very inspiring, but if we lose ourselves in that, and I've had a taste on what it feels like to lose myself in that, even before this, my last job was very time and energy consuming. So I knew how that feels, how it went. And even before that, I've had jobs that required so much energy. So when you are chasing your dreams, when you are building a brand or your business, it is important to appreciate the fact, yes, I am putting so much energy in here because it is my dreams, but also what somebody should tell you, and this is me telling you that, is that you need to prioritize your self-care routines like there's no tomorrow, because how you show up to building your dreams sets the whole foundation. You just don't want to burn out. You don't want to be a shooting star. You want to be a stable, steady North Star. You want to lead your own way with steadiness and slow and steady rinse the race, guys. Okay? And I really noticed that. I am not somebody that's gonna sit there every single day of the week hustling my ass off, because that is not my life. I work smarter, not harder. Period. I know what I'm great at. I know I'm great at creating aesthetically pleasing worlds. I know I'm great at marketing. Honestly, I'm really good at it. I'm really good at, creating the vibes, creating the aesthetic around something, whether it's music, whether it's, my podcast, whether it's my jewelry now. I know I'm very good at this, and I have always been very good at this. And it is one of my superpowers, so I'm gonna take advantage of that. But I'm not gonna sit there and completely work overload to a point where I'm gonna burn myself out, because that's not the way we roll. We have to live life, and we need to work smarter, not harder. And this is something that is so important, because sometimes, for example, with my brand, I could either be okay, I am gonna post and create as much content as possible every single day, something completely different, write these huge captions, blah, 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 blah. Or I could say, I am gonna create content for the next 7 or 14 days. For every single day, I have the simple but beautiful and aesthetically pleasing piece of content, also with some kind of wisdom in it. And that to me is so much easier, because I'm not overworking myself. I'm not writing novels. I'm putting something simple out there every single day that is gonna showcase my necklace, is gonna showcase some beautiful vibes, and it's gonna showcase some wisdom, because those 3 things I'm very good at. So find out what it is that you're good at. Find out what it is that you can really kind of channel every single day, but then don't over channel it, but find the sweet spot, find the simple spot. Work smarter, not harder. We don't need to work our asses off to grow successful. Sometimes there's going to be phases where you will need to work much more, and then maybe just a bit less, and find the balance, but don't overwork yourself, because if you burn out, especially in the early stages of launching anything, you're going to feel unmotivated. And then the danger of you depending on motivation will arise, which is something we should never do. We should never depend on motivation, because that is bullshit. Because motivation is a very unstable emotion. It will come and go. What will stay is devotion. You need to depend on devotion. You need to depend on devoting yourself to whatever it is that you want to devote yourself to. And then stay devoted. And then when a morning arises where you get out of bed and you're like, oh my God, I feel so deeply unmotivated, you will know. Actually, no. I don't depend on motivation. I'm going to show up anyway, and I'm going to work smarter and not harder. What is also very important to me, and maybe you as well, if you resonate with this, I really, really want to share this because this has made so much sense to me. I call my business a brand. I call my creations, my website, a brand. I don't say some shit like, oh, my small business, my small, like, I'm just like creating the small business or whatever. Like, there's so much emotion, work, love, and devotion from me, my soul, being poured into this project, that it would be disrespectful to me to call it something small. Because if you are an artist, if you create some art or whatever, if it touches another soul, it deserves to be called something bigger than a small business. It is not small. You touching other souls with your art is incredible. If it leaves a print on somebody's heart, it becomes a brand. I don't care. Even if you're a one-man show, like I am. It doesn't matter. But don't undersell yourself. Don't try to fit yourself into this category of being like, oh yeah, I'm a small artist, aspiring artist. Like, fuck off. You are not an aspiring artist. You are the artist. You already are it. And then you wonder, like, oh, why am I not making any sales, whatever. It's because you're underselling yourself. You should be putting yourself out there with so much more audacity, being like, yeah, I am the artist. This is my masterpiece. Because for me, I know the necklaces I make, maybe some people won't like them, maybe some people will love them. What matters is that I fucking love them. This masterpiece. The fairy tale necklace, my ultimate favorite masterpiece. And you deserve to charge for that. Work smarter, not harder. Know your worth. And don't undersell yourself. Don't create this masterpiece and be like, oh yeah, that's gonna be a 50 euros. What the fuck? Come on. You have poured so much into that. And for me, with my necklaces, that was actually a very long process of being like, you know, coming to terms with the fact that I deserve to price them the way I want to price them, because nobody's being forced to buy them in the first place. If they don't resonate with the price, they don't have to buy it. But real recognizes real, and the people that will love them and understand, like, yes, you're buying a piece from somebody that spent a lot of time creating this world, creating this business. And the price is totally justified. So whether you're selling your paintings or your art or your jewelry or music for €1, thousands, 100,000s, it is all possible. What matters is that you know your worth. And I started knowing mine, and I started being like, you know what? You're not just buying the necklace, you're buying the energy. You're buying a piece that my soul created, and it is something beautiful and sacred, and it is okay to price it however you want to price it. But what I'm saying is it's important that you don't underprice it, because you're so much more. There's so much more energy in it that deserves recognition. And I feel like a lot of us are just very scared to start something because we don't want to take up space, because I do care about the planet deeply. But I also know that not doing it is not an option, because if I make a lot of money with this brand, if you make a lot of money with this brand, you can give back so much easier. You can plant those trees, you can donate. That is so much more powerful than not buying that product, than not buying that packaging. So much more powerful. And then, once that is established, you make a lot of money, you can give it back times 10. So don't be scared or don't feel guilty for starting somewhere. Trust me, the biggest brands, the most eco-friendly, sustainable brands. I don't know. They had to start somewhere. And we are also meant to receive and take when it's needed. I just really wanted to talk about this because this was my main struggle as I was starting this brand, because I felt really guilty at first. You know, at first, like in the very early stages, I felt so guilty about being like, oh my gosh, who am I to make this kind of money? And that was so stupid, and I had to rewire my relationship with money before I launched. That was very important to me, because I know I'm a soul that wants to give back. I'm somebody that wants to donate, to change the world, and to make it a better place. So what I'm doing now is kind of like just like a bow and arrow. I'm pulling the arrow back so that I can whoosh, fly, you know? So don't be scared of taking up space, and don't even dare for a second to think like, oh, the market is oversaturated and my art will not have a place or whatever. Or, oh my gosh, I'm scared to overprice or whatever. You deserve to take up space. I've seen so much mediocre, boring fucking art in my life that's being sold for tens of thousands of dollars. And people applaud it. People are here for it. And I do the same. As somebody is like, you know, as I was doing my research and I was researching how successful brands in my category grew successful, and, you know, how they operate, how they price themselves. Some of them were like crazy, you know, like a little beaded bracelet for like 200, 300, 400 euros, you know? But I wasn't judging that. I was like applauding that because, yes, it's in our hands. Who cares? You know? So the only person that cares is you. No one else. If they judge you, then that's their issue. Because whatever other people think about us, our business, what we do, is none of our business, ironically. So know your worth, charge, because you're doing this for yourself first, and then later you can figure out how to give back, but that cup needs to overflow first. So these are just my 2 cents on all of this. I'm still figuring so much out. I'm still figuring out how I can make my brand the most soulfully aligned and earth-friendly, because that is just so important to me. And it is important for me to still proceed and to do what I have to do in order to get to the place where I can give back, because one of my biggest dreams is giving back. One of my biggest dreams is like donating a couple of $1,000s because I just feel like it and I want to help the world. It's one of my biggest dreams because that feeling is just amazing. You know, it starts with, you know, sometimes when I am on the subway and a homeless person comes around, and or like a homeless person tries to sell like one of those like homeless newspapers. There was one time, I don't remember when it was. It was a while ago, so I don't know when it was, but I gave him like a 10 euro bill, and he was so happy. And I've done this a couple of times, and I really want to do it more because it's just so fulfilling to me. And there's just something about it, like helping others, that is so deeply fulfilling to me because it is so beautifully selfless, and we need to do more of that. And I want to inspire you with that, to know that when you make it big, you can give back so much easier. It is your birthright to make it big. It is your birthright to be successful, because then the universe can use you as a vessel to overflow this abundance into other people's life as well. However, set boundaries. Don't overflow too much into other people's lives. But giving is a beautiful thing. Giving and receiving is a beautiful thing. And creating a business sets this in motion so much more beautifully than you can ever imagine. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Thank you so much for listening. Just needed to take a little sigh. I would love to know how this made you feel. I would love to know if I said something that really inspired you, and I would love for you to comment that, and I would love for you to just share your thoughts, and I'd love for us to connect, and I'd be so grateful. And if you're listening on Spotify, thank you. And also, I would be so deeply grateful if you could rate the podcast 5 stars, because that helps me out so much. And thank you for that. And thank you for your support. And I'm so grateful for us, for following our dreams. We're so cool. We're so fucking cool. Can you believe it? Like, holy shit. Yeah. I love you. I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.